Hi everyone, Sajid Amit here and welcome to this very short impressions video of DACs, in particular the MSB DAC, the MSB Discrete DAC, which I don't have over here. I just have the Holo Audio May. And as you can see that I have a lot of things packed up here. I have the Susvaras in his box, I have the Abyss in his box, and of course the Ferrum stack here. Now what's happening here is I recently went to audition at my dealers, the MSB Discrete DAC, which is of course a very expensive DAC, and the MSB DAC that I auditioned also had a second discrete power supply and also had the USB module. And so in a certain sense, it is not the most expensive, of course, of MSB DACs, because MSB DACs can go really high in price. As a matter of fact, the DAC that I just auditioned at my dealers, which goes around for depending on how it's a modular DAC, so you can add different components to it. So the price can range from around $12,000 to $15,000. So it's super expensive, but in a certain sense, it's the entry level for MSB DACs. So I wanted to audition the MSB DAC, and I wanted to compare it with the Holo Audio May, which I got to. And also compared the MSB DAC with an Auralic Vega G2.1, which also has a pretty good DAC. It's an ESS-based DAC, but they have some FPGA going on, and it's a pretty wonderful DAC as well. So I auditioned all three DACs, and I wasn't able to shoot the video when I was there, but I just thought I'd come back and I'll just post some reflections. I am trying to get into DAC reviews, but very slowly, because I do think one needs a very keen sort of hearing, of course, and critical listening ability to understand differences between DACs, because they can be less perceptible unless you're using very revealing gears. So today I was listening to the MSB DAC and the Holo Audio May and the Auralic Vega G2.1 with the Hyphaman Susvaras and the Abyss TC. I do want a disclaimer that although these are Summit-Fi headphones, these don't reveal differences in DACs as well as speakers do. That's just a fact. And this is coming from someone who's avowedly into portable audio. I'm not into speakers anymore, but speakers do reveal differences in chain. And of course, I'm talking about high-end speakers. They reveal differences in chains far more than headphones do. Unless you're talking about electrostatic headphones, because electrostatic headphones have a way of revealing different colors and characteristics of your chain much more than planar magnetic headphones. But that said, these are very revealing headphones, and I got to have a lot of fun auditioning. I threw a bunch of tracks, from female vocal-oriented tracks to funk-based metal, and played using this Ferrum audio chain as the sort of common denominator. So I used the Ferrum UR and Hypsis with the Holo Audio May. Then I switched to the MSB Discrete DAC with the second power supply and the discrete and the USB module. And then I switched from the MSB to the Auralic Vega G2.1. So I'll have a detailed write-up on my impressions. But I just want to say that the MSB DAC, MSB Discrete DAC with the second discrete power supply and the USB module was very impressive. It is a very respectable performer. It's a very respectable DAC. Very clearly R2R, so it's very natural sounding, massive stage. As a matter of fact, I want to say that when I was A/Bing between the May and the MSB, and hereafter when I refer to MSB, I'm talking about the discrete DAC with the second discrete power supply and one ISL module and the USB module. So when I was A/Bing between the May and the MSB, and then to the Vega G2.1, and then back to the MSB, and then back to the May, using the same tracks, first doing the first round with the Susvara and the second round with the TC. I was really impressed with the MSB DAC. It's a lot of what the May does, but it's bigger. The soundstage is more grandiose. It's more laid back than the May. It's very relaxed. And I think a lot of you stereophiles or people who listen to 2-channel will love the MSB. I mean, the May is very impressive and it holds its own in terms of its price point, but, because the May is, of course, less than half the price of the MSB, but the MSB was very impressive. It was very impressive, grandiose stage. The image just opened up more. With the TC, for instance, there were tracks that only on the MSB I heard really interesting positions and placements of instruments, like very much out of the head, and more out of the head than with the Holo May or with the Vega G2.1. So that was very impressive, the sort of the grandiosity. It's a more dramatic presentation in a certain sense, at the same time being relaxed and very natural, very laid back. If I had to sort of rank the 3 DACs that I auditioned today in terms of detail retrieval, I do think the MSB was more resolving, the most resolving. And I think the May and the Vega were close. In terms of soundstage, again, I think the MSB was way more grandiose and large and wide and deeper than the other DACs. But the second best performer, I think was the May, and followed by the Vega G2.1. And in terms of naturalness, I think the MSB was 1, the May was 2, and the Vega G2.1 was 3. The May, I do want to say, I understand why people who have auditioned the MSB and the May often make comparisons between the two, because the May does sound a lot like the MSB. I don't mean to sound blasphemous, of course, because the May is it's a recent sort of, entrant into the DAC market, so to speak. But it has caught the world by storm in terms of how much praise and it's garnering and how much love it's getting. And people have gone on and said that the May outperforms the Core Dave. And I have done a review of the May and the Dave, which I'm still not ready to publish, but I do think I agree with that perspective. The May does outperform the Dave, just the Dave without the M scaler. But that said, the MSB clearly outperforms the May. Like, it clearly does. And I was very impressed with the MSB, very, very impressed. But like I said, the May does take a lot of the flavor of the MSB, and you sort of sense this very familial connection almost, right? Because the May, like I said, sounds like it could have been like made by MSB, honestly. With all due respect to Holo, because Holo is a legit and a very impressive company. So yeah, and I also want to say the Vega G2.1 is also a very impressive DAC streamer from Auralic. A lot of you high-enders and summit fires must be very acquainted with Auralic streamers, but Auralic also makes great DACs, and I think the Auralic Vega G2.1 is their best DAC. It's an ESS-based DAC, but they've done a bunch of FPGA on it, and it's pretty well-designed DAC. And I found that the DAC is a nice sort of a complement to the MSB and to the May in the sense that it's a very forward-sounding DAC. It's punchy, it's dynamic. There are different filters which I think actually make a difference to how the DAC sounds. So I tried the smooth filter and as well as the dynamic filter and the precise filter on the Vega G2.1, and it sounds more forward, more commanding. It's a very resolute sounding DAC. But that said, I thought that it doesn't. I prefer the May to the Auralic Vega G2.1. But if one wanted 2 different DACs to have 2 different kinds of flavors, with May being the laid back, and if you're looking for a more forward presentation without having any treble glare, that sort of thing, I think the Vega G2.1 is worth your consideration. So great DACs all around. The May is basically what I own. I don't have any plans to upgrade right away. I really love the May for its great value for money. It does the job for me. But MSB is something that I seriously considered for a little while. It is a higher end and a higher performing DAC than the May. And I wasn't this impressed with the Core Dave, honestly. Maybe I'm an R2R person, so take that into account. But I was very impressed with MSB. But like I said, the May does retain a lot of the flavor of the MSB and gets somewhat close. And the Vega G2.1 from Auralic is also impressive, but a very different kind of presentation than one would expect. It's a saber DAC. So that's it, guys. This is just the sound part. And in future reviews, I do want to talk about sound impressions of different DACs that I've tried, and I hope to keep trying. I love thinking about DACs and trying DACs and auditioning DACs, mostly because I feel like you have to have your chain in order, and you have to be very acquainted with your chain, especially if you are a headfire, to understand differences in DAC performance. But if you're from 2-channel, and if you're a summit fire, if you have expensive speakers and cables and amplifiers, I mean, DACs will reveal a lot of differences. And DAC differences are very easy to, I think, then make out, right? So yeah, I mean, I hope this is useful. This is just, stream of consciousness. I just had to come back home and, just share my thoughts, just having auditioned an hour ago, these wonderful DACs that I just talked about. I'll have more detailed descriptions by way of a write-up soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll drop a link to that as a part of the description of this video soon. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, I have more coming up. Give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye-bye.